Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how I carved the pyramid cake. I have baked 3 layers of cake. One of them was 8-inch, second was 7-inch, and the last one was 6-inch. And I just layered them in half. For the inner cake structure, I was using 2 cake boards. The bottom cake board was wider than the top one. The top one is 8-inch square cake board. I randomly chose the height where I wanted to go, and I just used my bolts and nuts to help it secure in that placement. Then I cleaned and wiped my cake board, and I spread a thin layer of chocolate that I let to sit for it to create a food safe environment for my cake layers. The next step for me was to layer my cake layers on the structure. And firstly, I start by using some buttercream on the actual cake board. I love to use simple syrup on my cake layers. It just keeps the moisture inside while I'm working on the carved cakes. Once I layered all my cake layers, then I marked where is the middle of my cake, and I used that as a guidance where I'm gonna carve my pyramid sides. Most of the time, if not always, I carved the chilled cake because it's much easier to carve it. I didn't have a stencil for how high my pyramid should go. I was just basically eyeballing it. So firstly, I carved one side, and then I carved the opposite side of it, and then I moved to the other 2 sides. At this point, I was thinking that I will not do the pointed pyramid, and then later on you will see how I add the point of it. As you might guess, there was lots of shavings left, so you can do cake balls or whatever you desire with that left over. When I was happy with my pyramid shape, I crumb coated all cake with the first layer of buttercream. Then I put the cake back into the fridge for 30 minutes for it to chill. And then I did a second layer of buttercream. I was trying to achieve as sharp edges as I could. And if you're new to sharp edges, that's most likely the most tricky part of the sharp edge of the cake. In between creating those sharp edges, I was putting my cake back into the fridge for it to firm up, because obviously the buttercream would go to the room temperature, and then it was no good for creating those sharp edges. I was using various tools and scrapers to help me create those sharp edges. I was using wider cake scraper. I was using my metal ruler. At this point, I realized that me going back and forth to the fridge and back again to create those sharp edges wasn't really efficient way to do the sharp edges. It was a warmer day in Ireland. It was end of May, and my buttercream was warming up pretty quick, so it made my attempt to create the sharp edges really challenging. So I decided to make a little cake card to place on top of my cake and glue it to the cake so that it would let me to create those sharp edges eventually. I use my leveler to level the cake card, and then I just use a little bit of buttercream to attach it to the top of my cake. And this little card made my life much more easier because it let me create sharp edges much more quicker. At this particular point, most likely my cake went to the fridge and back for about 10 times. I was scraping the cake and smoothing out the cake from left to the right, from right to the left, from top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. And I was doing that all 4 sides till I was happy with the outcome. I was aiming to create my edges as sharp as I possibly can. And I'm going to cover all the cake with the black fondant in a second tutorial. This cake was made for myself and for my celebration, so I wasn't really aiming for anything apart having fun with it. I love doing square and sharp edge cakes because it just tests all my skills of how far I can go and how much fun I can have with it. And you watching it and liking it for educational purposes is a bonus. So somewhere here after a millionth go of sharpening the edges, I realized I came to the end and I'm happy with them. When I finally was happy with the sharpness of my edges, I removed the cake card from the top of my cake, and then I placed a little bit of the cake scrap I had to help me create that sharp finish of my pyramid cake. I realized I'm up for that challenge as well. To my best ability, I was creating the point of the pyramid as sharp as I could. The rest of the sharpness of that point I will create with the fondant. Though scientists still question how the real pyramids were built, I hope you found this tutorial useful to create your own cake pyramid. And I know true for myself that the pyramids weren't built in a day. Stay tuned for the second tutorial where I covered my cake using fondant. Thank you for watching. See you soon.